Hey, vegan freaks. It's Thursday, May 4th, and it's show number 36.
When we were kids, the bugs and the birds fascinated us. They were just like us. And we were taught they slammed the door. It's not cool to feel too much. But some of us break free. Or you want a vegan freak. That's when you think.
Hey there, and welcome back. I'm a vegan freak.
Yes, you are.
I am indeed. I've been feeling kind of freaky lately.
Yeah? Why so?
I don't know, just getting a lot of weird looks lately.
That could be because you're wearing a t-shirt.
Because I'm wearing a t-shirt?
Yeah, and your arm's tattooed.
Oh! I was like, what's wrong with t-shirts? Can I not wear t-shirts?
No, because now you have the outline of a full sleeve on your arm,
Good point.
which freaks people out around here.
It does indeed.
You don't see that every day.
No, you don't. So, welcome back. This is show number 36. We're happy to be coming at you again with another week of Vegan Freak Radio. We've got a jam-packed week ahead of you, and we apologize for being late.
Yes, it's the last week of classes, but there's one day left.
Yeah, I have been grading like a madman. If I have to grade another paper, well, I do have to grade another paper, but I'm so tired of grading papers.
Me too.
I'm so tired. But my animal rights class ended up working out pretty well. Students did presentations today, and I learned something today
Wow.
that I never knew before from
Wow.
a student presentation.
Amazing.
Isn't it cool?
Yeah.
I was so floored. One of these students today was talking about the history of the evolution of the animal rights movement and awareness of animals in the UK, and he was in Britain in particular, and he was talking about how you see, I even start talking like the students when I start thinking about what they're saying. He was talking about how there were some riots around vivisection, around the brown dog riots. I mean, maybe he could be wrong, so I don't want to reproduce his information and take it as at face value, but he did a pretty interesting presentation.
Cool.
Yeah, and then what was really cool and surprised me was another student raised her hand and said, well, how does all this stuff relate to the evolution of the Animal Liberation Front in the UK? I was like, wow.
Wow.
We never talked about the ALF in my class, ever.
Yeah.
I haven't said a word about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the
Well,
last
it
thing I
sounds
need.
like they're
Start
actually-
talking about the ALF in my classes.
Yeah,
I
really.
like it.
But they're actually making connections and thinking about things. It's good.
Yeah, it's cool. But anyway, class
Yeah.
has been killing us, and that's why we're a little late this week.
Yeah.
But we've got some good stuff for you. We've got a review with Nell coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And the Joyzy Vegan crew. We also have an interview for you.
Yes, with Dreena Burton, who's the author of several cookbooks, the Everyday Vegan and it's Vive la Vegan. I have to apologize because I always say Viva la Vegan because I think it's Spanish.
Español,
I'm like, oh, Viva la Vegan. But no, it's French, which would make it Vive.
Que vivan los
So-
veganos.
I'm sorry
Well, there you go.
for that to all the francophones.
Yeah. I didn't know it was wrong
It's just
either.
habit. Yeah.
I have no...
Until I heard Dreena say it, I'm like, oh, yeah, shit.
I always think of it as Viva, too. You know?
Yeah. Viva la Vegan!
Hey, cabrones! Viva!
There you go, Angelica.
Yeah, true. All right, so we've got one brief shout out this week. We received a donation from Terry, and Terry said that she sends a donation, and she wanted the donation to go to one particular effect, and I'll play that effect. Not vegan. She likes the not vegan effect, the not vegan voice. So she says she loves the not vegan voice. Not vegan. And she would like to make the donation in the names of her kitties. Cassandra, Comiskey, and Wrigley, who are definitely not vegan. So she's keep up the good work. Love, peace, and soybean grease. Terry. So thanks for that, Terry.
Excellent.
Very generous donation. And to our new subscribers, we have several out there. And also we should thank those people who are banner advertising with us. And we've got Food Fight up there. We've got Good Baker. We've got Herbivore Magazine. We've got... Oh, fuck. Who am I missing?
We're working on getting Arsenal Pulp Press.
Yep. So we've got a couple up there. If I missed you, I am such a dork. I'm sorry. So we've got, like I said, we've got the interviews, but those are going to come in the later half of the show. What we want to do is talk about a couple things that came up in the news, mostly around meat tainting and contamination.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I hear these stories, I always think, I gotta read that on the podcast.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I mean, like, certainly your tofu could be contaminated potentially, right? But it just seems to happen so much less. You don't read stories about, it's tofu recall and contamination today. 3 people died from E. coli poisoning. No, you never hear about that, right?
No,
So-
occasionally you get something on like green onions, like something like that.
You're right.
It's very rare.
Maybe there's a carnicast somewhere,
Yeah,
that-
maybe.
It's like,
look, these green onions are contaminated.
yes, they're doing they're doing the opposite of what we're doing.
But
So, yeah. But I guess we'll begin with this one. This one's out of Norway, and it is from the Aftenposten. I speak no Norwegian, so I'm sure I'm going to butcher all kinds of things here, and I apologize in advance. I don't speak Norwegian, but if you want to call and correct me, you can do that. This one is called Sheep Dung in Roast. Yet another horror story has been registered in connection with Norwegian meat giant Guild, I assume is how you would say that. I saw immediately that it was sheep dung, Kari Thingvold told newspaper, Romerikesblad, I guess. As the family Sunday roast lamb was being carved, 2 balls appeared in the meat. On Monday, Thingvold sent the roast to Food Safety Authority's district office in Klofta. I don't know how to say that little O with a slash through it. And they confirmed her fears. Thingvold had kept the roast packaging marked Guild, the country's dominant meat cooperative that had been linked to a series of media reports about E. coli contamination and an outbreak of a virulent strain that resulted in the death of a young child. This is not supposed to happen, and just being informed about this will allow us to tighten routines so that it doesn't happen again, said Guild Communication Director Nina Sundqvist. Eating a roast lamb with excrement is probably not dangerous since it has been heat-treated. Any E. coli bacteria die at 60 Celsius, 140 degrees Fahrenheit, said FSA Klofta section leader Kristen Stiermo. Thingvold had been contacted twice by Guild after the announcement and offered a deal on Guild products as an apology, which she turned down. It's like, here's the shitty meat we gave you. Would you like more shitty meat?
Yeah, really. Yeah, especially after shitty meat killed somebody.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that whacked
It's
out?
horrible.
So there's poo and meat. Meaty poo.
Judging,
Or pooey meat.
once you learn how it's slaughtered, it's no huge surprise.
No, not at all.
I mean, it gets everywhere and that contaminates it. That's where the E. coli comes from.
Absolutely. So next time you're having your little roast, if you're not a vegan, watch out for those little balls of sheep dung to fall through.
Yum.
Isn't that disgusting?
Gross.
Go ahead.
Right. But there's another odd thing found in meat story that some of you might have already seen. Diner finds piece of finger in burger.
Yeah, that one's from one of our listeners.
Yes, this is from Megan McAndrews, who forwarded this to us. And somebody posted it on the forums, I believe. A diner found a piece of human flesh on his hamburger shortly after a restaurant worker accidentally cut his finger, and a spokeswoman said the company was very, very sorry. A kitchen manager of the TIGI Fridays at College Mall injured himself Tuesday, and no one immediately realized he had lost part of his finger while others rushed to help him, said Amy Freshwater, spokesman for the chain.
Ew.
Yeah. The manager didn't even know what happened until he got to the hospital, she said. Another staff member served the plate to a customer who immediately spotted the piece of flesh. Which piece of flesh? There are 2 pieces of flesh there. The hamburger and the finger.
Good point.
The manager was treated at Bloomington Hospital and only lost a small piece of finger, according to Freshwater. We absolutely acknowledge the seriousness of this incident. We are very, very sorry that this occurred, she said. The restaurant has been in contact with the customer, Freshwater said. The diner called police, but an officer told him that it was not a criminal matter. So there you go.
What I think is interesting about that, though, is like, okay, you've got the flesh of one animal there. If it's cooked, why not eat human flesh, right?
There you go.
If you're going to eat cow
Yeah,
flesh.
right. No, but I think it was Ryan at VegBlog had a good comment on his site in relation to this article. Like, you never find these kind of articles with veggie burgers.
It's true.
You never find pieces of finger in veggie burgers.
Yep.
So
Yeah, that's really pretty gross.
yeah.
I don't know, man. That's whacked out. But what can you do?
Yeah, contaminated, gross, and not to mention all the salmonella that you can find in chicken usually and
Yeah.
eggs.
It's endemic to the entire system.
It is, exactly. It comes from the way we process things, the way we raise the animals, and the way we slaughter them. The way it's just massive amounts of processing.
It is.
That goes through it. And it's,
One of the things I thought was really interesting, too, in reading student papers, I was reading papers from my animal rights class, and one of the students said that one of the things that watching Earthlings had done for her was help her move away from a conception of meat and into a conception of flesh. Like,
Wow.
she stopped seeing animals as meat and started seeing it as flesh, and that's when she said that she could not any longer continue to eat animals
wow.
because she started to see it as flesh and
Mhm.
become repulsed by it.
Nice.
Yeah, I was like, man.
That's really awesome. That's what we need. We need more of that.
I think Earthlings is one of the most powerful tools in the vegan arsenal at this moment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I really do. I think it's a powerful film, and I think it moves even cold-hearted people.
Wow.
So, not that this student was cold-hearted, but
Right.
I think
Well,
it moved a lot of the students in my class.
Excellent.
So if you haven't seen Earthlings, you really should. Another thing we got from a listener this week. This is from Rod Knight, and it's a comic. It's from Brevity, I guess is the strip's name, and I'll post a link to it because I can't show you a comic over the air. Although maybe I could. I've been thinking about moving to a different kind of podcast stream, and that would allow me to actually show you things right in the stream. But forget it. I'll just tell you about it. The comic itself has a picture of a guy who's in bed, looking happy. He's got the sheets pulled up just below his neck, and he's sleeping, and he's got a smile on his face. And then there is the thought bubble, bloop. And the thought bubble, inside the thought bubble, is a farm. And growing on the farm is divided into 3 pieces. On the right side of the farm are growing corn plants, but instead of the corn, there's hot dogs in a bun. In the middle row, where you might see something that looks kind of like cabbages, there are little chickens sprouting out. And on the left side, there's something that looks kind of like a fruit tree, but instead of fruit, it has stakes on it. And the caption for the comic says, "When vegetarians dream." So I'll post this for you. But that's really frustrating.
Immensely.
Because it thinks, this article seems to make it seem like we all secretly really desire meat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, ooh, meat, I'm desiring it, as if we're all kind of like jonesing for it every minute of every day of our lives. And that's just such bullshit.
It is, especially because, like you just described, we see it as flesh. We don't see it as just a product.
Exactly.
We make the connection back to the animal, and so for us, it's not at all appetizing.
So there you go. I will post a link to that. I think it's kind of frustrating if this is the way the rest of the world sees us. Like, do they think that vegans and vegetarians are running around just always jonesing for meat?
They do.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of people do.
That's weird.
Yeah, I remember somebody was posting, I think it was something in relationship to the Vegan Lunchbox blog that some other teachers like, yeah, I have vegan kids in my class, and they're, every time there's somebody brings a non-vegan cake or whatever, the vegan kid's always like grabbing it and like running into the corner and hiding like a little addict.
Oh yeah, I remember reading that too. Yeah.
So it's like it's all over the place, and it's really frustrating because no, we don't go around jonesing for this stuff, and we don't eat it for a reason. It's because of our ethics, and therefore it is important to us not to eat it, and it just turns us off.
Absolutely.
So.
Knuckleheads.
Yeah.
And another thing, to get back to knuckleheads, I was reading these papers for my students as well because I gave them an extra credit assignment where they could go vegetarian or vegan for a week, and they had to write about their experiences. And some of the things that people say to their friends are so mind-bogglingly stupid or just plain mean. The guys, actually, I had a couple guys from the football team go vegetarian for a week, and they got called pussies. They were told they were not going to gain any muscle mass, that they had to eat meat in order to be men, and all this other shit, right? Which is ridiculous, completely ridiculous, because as you well know, I'm not even going to...
Yeah, you said, where do you start?
Where do I... Yeah, exactly, where to begin. But another student, I posted this on our forums as well, another student said that when she sat down at the table with one of the people she knew, that the guy said to her, "Oh, she went vegan for a week," and he said, "Oh, you're going vegan?" And she said, "Yeah." And he said, "Why are you going vegan?" And she said, "Well, mostly for animal rights reasons." And because she's one of these students who was really moved by the film, and she said he rolled his eyes and clucked his tongue out or whatever, and all this other shit. And then they said to her, "Well, you're going to get stupid, right?" And she said, "Really? Why?" And they said to her, "Well, because humans evolved, became intelligent by eating meat. Our brains grew because we were able to consume meat. And so if you stop eating meat, your brain's going to shrink and you're going to become stupid." Now, that kind of logic leads me to believe that their brain has shrunk and they are, in fact, fucking idiots.
Yeah, no shit.
That makes no sense.
None whatsoever. Because humans evolved millions of years ago, even if that is true,
yeah,
that's why we evolved.
But it's not.
It's not.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there are arguments that we talked about in our podcast before that actually people's brains evolved because they were being hunted.
There you go. So
there you go.
ridiculous, completely ridiculous, and a lot of other things like that. But I have to admit that one was one I had not heard before.
No, I haven't heard that one before. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was really strange.
Yeah, can you just say Creutzfeldt Jacobs? Mad cow? Put holes in your brain. Hello.
Your brain's going to be a sponge when you're 60. Mine will work just fine, thanks.
Yeah.
That frustrates me a lot. Those kinds of things just really annoy me. And the students, for what it's worth, they're just trying this out, and many of them have an inclination to do this, but they don't really know quite all the logic of it yet. And one student mentioned that she had a hard time because the mediator said to her, "Look, what you're doing is not environmentally sound." She was going vegan. What you're doing is not environmentally sound. Do you know why? Because by consuming plants, you're taking up more acres of land than I do by eating meat, which is intensively farmed. And at the time, she didn't know, she didn't think to argue that, well, you complete idiot, there are something like 12 to 14 pounds of grain in every pound of hamburger. And where do those pounds of grain come from? Oh, right, land. So, if you really do care about that stuff, eat low on the food chain, right? Why eat up high on the food chain? Eat low on the food chain, And it's just like the plants have feelings people. They get on my nerves too, because that is often the cry of a cornered omnivore. But we've ranted about that
before. Yeah.
So anyway, I just wanted to.
Yeah, but all this goes to show that the hardest part about being vegan is not the food.
No way.
Giving up the food is so easy. It's dealing with all the fucking idiots.
It is. Dealing with the idiots is the hardest part, and there are so many of them.
I know.
Well, it's because we have in our heads this like mental machinery. Always this mental machinery that whatever I grew up with is right, whatever I learned, whatever everybody does is right, and anybody who challenges the conventional wisdom, you're always going to pay a price, and that price is often ridicule.
Yep.
So that's what it's coming down to. We live in a society in which unfortunately exploitation is the norm. You challenge exploitation, you're going to take it.
Yep.
But I think it's important for everybody to learn a couple good lines and use them on occasion.
Yep, definitely.
Yep.
Yep.
So that whole environmental argument actually brings us into another segment we wanted to do on the show. We haven't done an If You're Not Vegan Yet segment, and we do these every so often to kind of hit people who maybe are listening to the show either by chance. Oh, it's a new month. Vote for us at Podcast Alley.
Oh, yes, please do.
Because we do suck in some listeners from Podcast Alley, believe it or not. We get emails from folks every so often saying, "Hey, I found your show on Podcast Alley, and I was a vegetarian or thinking about going vegetarian, and now I like the show, and I'm a vegan." So we get those every so often, and those are pretty cool. And anyway, the reason that we do these is because some of our listeners aren't quite vegan yet and are contemplating that movement forward. But what I wanted to do, this article came from Maddie, who I think also has a voicemail on this show later on. But she thought this would be a good thing for the If You're Not Vegan Yet segment. And this is an article from truthout.org, which is, I think, a famously lefty kind of news source. But nevertheless, the article is titled "Meat Eaters Aiding Global Warming?" ? It says, new research suggests what you eat is as important as what you drive. Your personal impact on global warming may be influenced as much by what you eat as by what you drive. That surprising conclusion comes from a couple of scientists who have taken an unusual look at the reduction of greenhouse gases from an angle that not many folks have even thought about. Gideon Eschel and Pamela Martin, assistant professors of geophysics at the University of Chicago, have found that our consumption of red meat may be as bad for the planet as it is for our bodies. If you want to help lower greenhouse gas emissions, they conclude in a report to be published in the journal Earth Interactions, become a vegetarian. In the interest of full disclosure, it should be noted that both researchers are vegetarians, although they admit to it cheating a little with an occasional sardine.
Why would you want to cheat with sardines of all things?
I know, isn't that weird?
Just go suck on some salt.
Not vegan. Well, they're vegetarians.
All right, okay.
Right. They're actually flexitarians, right?
Yeah, I guess that would technically be that.
If you're a vegetarian, fish is not a vegetable. Why do people think fish is a vegetable?
Because vegetarians
it
go
swims.
Yes.
Sorry.
Eat fish and tell people they're vegetarians.
Why do they do that?
I don't know.
It makes me mad. It really upsets me.
Yes.
Makes me want to cry. No, it doesn't. No, anyway. See, now they're calling themselves vegetarians and they're eating fucking fish. Idiots. 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 Okay, sorry. I'm going to get a grip here. At least they did this, right? So give me something to talk about in the show.
Sure.
Eshel and Martin, the not vegetarian people, collected that data from a wide range of sources, and they examined the amount of fossil fuel energy and thus the level of production of greenhouse gases required for 5 different diets. The vegetarian diet turned out to be the most energy efficient, followed by poultry and what they call the mean American diet, which consists of a little bit of everything. There was a surprising tie for last place. In terms of energy required for harvesting and processing fish and red meat ended up in a virtual tie, but that's just in terms of energy consumed. When you toss in all those factors such as bovine flatulence and gas released by manure, red meat comes in dead last. Fish remains in fourth place, some distance behind poultry in the mean American diet, chiefly because the type of fish preferred by Americans requires a lot of energy to catch. So what they go on to say is that one researcher says it is comparable to the difference between driving an SUV and driving a reasonable sedan. So that's kind of what they're getting at here, is that the difference in what you eat can actually be like, the difference in between those two different cars. And that's pretty much the hint. The implication here is that certain diets require more energy input, and in our food system and in our world and our economy is centered around oil in so many ways. I mean, think about this for a second. Before we can eat in this country, in the United States, anywhere in the developed world actually, we need oil. We need oil before we need food as a country. That's whacked up.
I know.
Isn't that messed up?
Yeah, because not only does it go into transporting everything that we need, it goes into making a lot of the fertilizers
and
pesticides and everything else
and
that we
harvesting
use. Exactly.
And planting.
Yep.
So before we can even eat in the way that we're used to eating in this country, we need oil. So oil is so essential to our economy and to our diets. It is like the first thing we need. Now, I think we should probably have more local food. Everybody should join a CSA. You know what? Did we talk about CSAs before?
I don't know, maybe a long time ago. But there's actually the most recent issue of Satya is pretty good.
Yeah, it does have some stuff.
It has a lot of
that.
good stuff on why you should be eating local food, and that kind of. So a lot of good articles in there. So you should check it out if you haven't checked it out yet. So yeah, I just lost my train of thought.
Oh,
sorry.
No, well, I was talking about CSAs.
Right.
It's a good way to eat a lot of local food.
It is.
It's community-supported agriculture, and what you do is usually buy shares or you buy a proportion of the farm's output every year. The way it works for us is we pay a flat rate at the beginning of the year, and we get a share of what the farm produces every week throughout the growing season. And for us, that's a really good thing because we end up with lots of really incredible fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, it's just the CSA that we joined last year is just the stuff is gorgeous. In fact, I don't even know how they do it, but it's just it's beautiful and it's really nice because it sort of gets us into eating fruits and veggies that we probably wouldn't buy on our own. So
right.
we figure, okay, we have to figure out something we need to do with this. So.
Well, yeah, it gets us cooking new and different things too.
Yeah.
The cool thing about the CSA, though, in terms of the environmental impact, is that the CSA requires, a very tiny proportion of the transportation of the goods and all that stuff that buying conventional groceries involves.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one big thing, and also you're supporting a local farmer, which is cool, and you're getting food that you've met the person that's grown your food, and that's really powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is powerful. One of the things that I read in Satya that was interesting to me was about organics and about how organics are being taken over now by large corporations, and in fact, Walmart is one of the biggest purchaser of organics.
Oh yeah,
ever that's out there, and how basically a lot of stuff's coming from China, and instead of what people thinking, oh, this is a great thing, is actually degrading the organic standards. That they're making the laws change just so they can fit other things into organic standards, and it's not good. And things are still coming from China and from all over the world, to be on your plate. And so
right.
The best way for you to participate and to be ecologically sound is to support your local farmers. So,
absolutely.
There you go.
Well, support local farms, and of course, if you're concerned about greenhouse gas emissions, you probably shouldn't eat meat.
Yep.
And I'd be really interested to know why they didn't analyze dairy and eggs as well.
Yeah, they should have done vegan versus vegetarian.
Yeah, they should have, but they're vegetarians, so they probably
it didn't even occur to them.
Well, it might have occurred to them, but
yeah,
might have been difficult.
Yeah, because if they're talking about bovine flatulence. You got a lot still from dairy.
Yeah, you do.
You got all the manure runoff, pollution.
There you go.
Yeah.
Probably would have been a lot harder to do the equations, too.
True.
But who cares? I mean, who cares if it's hard? They should do it.
They should.
They should. And they should stop eating anchovies.
They should. Or sardines or whatever it was.
Oh, what was it?
Sardines, I believe.
Really?
Yeah, I think that's what you said.
I don't know. It doesn't really matter. Sardine, you're right.
Not
Whatever.
vegan. Okay. But anyway, moving on. Did you know that today is International Respect for Chickens Day?
I had no idea.
Yes, it is.
Well, good.
So, for those of you who want to learn more about chickens and why you should respect chickens and not eat them or their eggs, you should go to Compassion Over Killing, COK.net, or you should go to United Poultry Concerns, which is upc-online.org, and find out exactly why chickens are worth your respect.
Why they're worthy of it.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I mentioned some of those things last week in last week's podcast, but I thought since we happened to coincide today's podcast with International Respect for Chickens Day, we should mention it.
Well, there you go. And you should have respect for chickens every day.
Of course.
Because they're complex creatures.
They are. And actually, Super Vegan Blog also has a lot of all their themes. Their blog entries today are themed around the chickens. So check
What
that
did you
out.
say? I didn't hear you.
Super Vegan.
Yeah, you said so. It
Blog.
doesn't matter.
Oh,
You
what?
said they're.
Oh, sorry. They're all themed around the chickens today.
Ah.
All their blog entries.
Cool.
Okay. But anyway, I wanted to sort of start like a new segment today, talking about, since we were talking about Super Vegan Blog, talking about various vegan blogs that we read regularly and maybe subscribe to the RSS feeds is how I read them. And I wanted to mention a couple of food blogs that I read regularly because I think food blogs are an excellent way for you to just see what other vegans are cooking every night, and it's really inspiring. And there's a lot of good food out there. It's amazing, really. I mean, just people who, everyday people who are just out there posting pictures and recipes of what they're eating, and it's awesome. And so one that I've mentioned before on the podcast is Eat Air, a vegan food log, and that's eatair.blogspot.com. And this is just Chris, I think Crispy on our forums, actually sending us a voicemail and haven't even gotten around to playing it yet, but said to thank you for mentioning his blog on the show. And it's him and his wife, and they live in Virginia, and they're a busy couple, so they post when they can about what they eat every day, because and their title of their blog comes from, what do you eat, Air? The stupid question that vegans sometimes get. So, and they've got a lot of quick and healthy dishes that they put up there, and it's really good to see. Another one that I really, really like is called Fat Free Vegan Kitchen. It's blog.fatfreevegan.com. And the pictures on this blog are just gorgeous. And of course, it's not completely fat free, but they do a lot of things that are low fat and without a lot of added fat. So it's really nice if you're looking for healthier things. And she always posts pictures and posts recipes as well. And so sometimes she uses things from cookbooks, but sometimes she comes up with things on her own. And I think today's was a tour dal with kale. It looked really good.
Wow.
And then there's a really good looking tofu kebab type thing for on the grill.
Cool.
Oh, man.
Sounds good.
I know. I was just looking at this before we started the podcast, and it was making me really, really hungry. So these are a good place to go for some inspiration for recipes. And there's another one that I read on regular, but it's not updated as often. The Eat Air and Fat Free Vegan Kitchen are updated every day, pretty much. But there's another one called Misai. I'm assuming that's how you say it. MEISAI. And the address is, I don't even know how to say it. It's KOUFUKURON.com/Misai, MEISAI. And it's actually someone who was on our forums, Miharu, does this and has a lot of Japanese themed things on there, and also takes gorgeous pictures. She's some really nice dinnerware, and this last one had like a bowl of edamame and some noodles and some sauce, and it was just very simple and very nice and elegant.
Nice.
And looks really good. And she's always posts pictures of when she talks about food. So another good place to go for food ideas.
Cool. And you're going to post all those in the show notes,
of course, right? We'll put those in the show notes.
Good.
But in case you're looking for, you don't even need cookbooks. You can go to, these food blogs and get ideas. You can go to a place like vegweb.com and get ideas and make yourself really hungry. What's wrong?
It sounds like the dog's getting into something.
Yeah, whatever. What else is new? I think he's trying to look out the window.
Well, that's fine.
In the hallway.
Okay. Well, cool. And all those links will be in our show notes.
Yeah.
And if we ever get a show out, man, I can't wait for this semester to be over.
Me either.
I got to tell you, man, it it's this last week or two is always the worst. It's like the most exhausting time of the year.
Yes, it
But-
is. A lot of grading.
Yes, indeed. So now I think what we should do are some emails.
You've got mail.
Okay, let's see here. Cialis? No, don't need that. Bigger bust size? No. Free iPod? Oh, might do that. Oh, are you pleasing your woman? Well, you better ask her. Oh, well, what's this? Vegan freak email? Vegan freak email. Yes.
Okay, well, we've got a couple emails this week we want to read. We have one email from someone named Adolf, who is in Germany. And the email says, I have lived vegan for 23 years now, but this video just opened my eyes. I'm having ham and even liver again. I do love pork brain and all the goodies like chicken feet again, and all just thanks to those lovely guys. We should give them an award and hail their glorious directing qualities. I assume that that's in reference to the ham video.
Probably.
I hope so.
I certainly hope so too.
Otherwise, I'm confused. So I thought I would read that. Maybe, I don't know. Oddly enough, Adolf's last name is Hotler.
Haha.
Hotler.
Huh.
That's why I'm wondering if it's a joke.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know. But anyway,
Listeners, what do you think? Is it a joke?
is it being facetious?
I don't know. I also got feedback from last week's show from my mom,
Yes.
who called and said, I can't believe you're sick. Oh my God. You know what you need? And she's laughing. You know what you need? You need chicken noodle soup. I told her to leave it on the voicemail, but she didn't. So, no, Mom is always very supportive. She's just funny. She was trying to be funny. So, she doesn't mean it in any kind of mean way. She's sweet.
Mm-hmm.
So,
We
I
had
don't-
unchicken noodle soup.
we did indeed. I don't want anyone to think that I'm like busting on her, because I'm not. She was just trying to. In my family, isn't it not true that we
Very true.
mess with each other? I mean,
all the time.
it's fun though. I know it freaked you out when you first
Yes.
met my family, but it's fun.
Yes, it is.
Do you have an email?
I have an email. It's from Paula. Paula says, Hi, Bob and Jenna. I recently started listening to your podcast, and I'm kind of addicted now. I also read your book and love that. Thank you. I love to listen while I'm on the treadmill at the gym, a very new activity of mine, because I get all angry about veganism, not angry at veganism, and I run faster. I ran really hard while listening to the story about, quote-unquote, the vegetarian ham eater. Nasty. I also wanted to comment about your honey rant. I'm vegan. I eat honey and things sometimes, but I also know that it's not vegan. I never cook with honey, and I would never tell a non-vegan that I eat honey or that it was okay for vegans to eat honey. I guess I could rant about it too, but I won't. You guys are awesome, and I get your theme song stuck in my head all the time. Take care, Paula.
Well, thank you for that. I'm a little confused, but okay, whatever.
Okay.
What? What?
Yeah, no, I was just going through it again because it was a lot of like honey, not eat honey, eat honey. So yeah,
She
Right.
eats honey. She doesn't make a big deal out of it.
right.
So, whatever you do, that's what you do.
That's what you do.
I have one related to a question of silk. Can I go?
Go,
Can I go?
go,
I can go?
do it.
I'm doing it. Do it. Okay. This one is from Fernando. Fernando says, Hi there. First, let me tell you that I find your website very informative and a really good resource for anyone considering veganism. I have been vegan for 6 years and will be vegan for the rest of my life, but I am facing a tough situation right now. Tuxedos. I've been everywhere, online, retail stores, and I can't find a good vegan tuxedo. I need it because my girlfriend, also a vegan, is going to be part of some weddings. I don't know what to do. I feel extremely guilty even thinking that I will have to get a wool one, but also a part of me feels like I have done my best to avoid that. What would you do in a situation like this, where the animal product can't be avoided even if your intentions are the best? So here's what I'm asking. I have no idea. Personally, I can't say. Maybe I'd rent one.
Yeah, I think that would be the best option because you're not going to buy it. I mean, if that's the only option, I would rent one, and that way you don't have to keep it at least.
Yeah, but then you still have to wear wool.
Yeah.
I-
Are all tuxedos wool?
I don't.
There's got to be some that aren't.
I don't
Aren't there
know.
some polyester or something?
Yeah, one of those like baby blue tuxedos, baby. Yeah.
There's got to be some polyester tuxedos out there that don't look like hell.
I would be surprised if there are. No, but I thought I would put that one out there to our audience because I told Fernando I had no idea what I would do, and I'm really not sure what I would do. I'd probably wear a rental, to be honest. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought I would ask because I don't really have any idea. Maybe someone knows of a good vegan tuxedo. Sounds like he wants to buy one. So because he's going to a couple weddings,
Right. But do you have to wear a tuxedo? Can't you wear another suit? Maybe
You could probably wear a suit, but
A really
if it's
nice
a really,
suit?
if it's a really bougie wedding, you know, really fancy, and it's got, you know, people who are like planned out every single possible thing, and they want it a particular way, you have to do it that way, or they're going to kill you, man.
Right.
So, if Fernando has to wear a tux, he's going to have to wear a tux. Plus, he wants to look styling, man. You know, a suit.
True. Well, their suits look styling too.
Yeah, but you're at a wedding, you know? And if it's like that kind of wedding and it's like a, you know, fancy place, you know? I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't think... you probably couldn't get me in a tux again.
Hopefully you won't have to. All your friends got married, so... you
No, that's
probably
not
won't-
true. Not all my friends.
Not all of them. What happens when your brother gets married? You're going to be in the wedding, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'll wear a tux then if I have to. No, and Dan didn't get married yet.
This is true.
So, there you go. We'll figure all these things out. But if anyone knows of a good source for vegan tuxedos, it sounds like he wants to buy one, let us know, and we'll pass it on to Fernando.
All right.
Right, so those are our emails. We have more, of course, in the queue. We always have more, and we will get to them all. We try to get to them all. If we're not, we're sorry, but we're trying. So anyway, that's it for the emails for this week.
Drop the phone, it'll save you a tenner. Send an email to Bob and Jenna.
You know, during that break, I was taking a drink of water, and my water tastes weird. Did you do something to it downstairs?
Yeah, I peed in it.
Ew, really?
No.
No, I know.
Did you have the juice in there before? I
I
rinsed
did.
it out.
I did have juice in there. Is that
Is
why?
that why
I
it
would-
tastes funny?
I don't know. It smells weird and tastes funny.
I just rinsed it out and put water in it. That's all I did.
Well, I appreciate it.
Okay.
I don't know. I thought maybe you were finally tired of me and looking for the final solution or something.
No.
I don't know. Fed up with this. Fed up with that bozo, man. I'm going to poison him and get it over with.
No.
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 That's not really your style.
No.
It's really not.
No.
So, okay. Well, we have a song for you. A song. Where is
Don't we
it?
have voicemail first?
Oh, fuck me. Yes.
Gotta follow that line.
I still see red ink in my head. I've been grading so much lately. You have no idea. Right. So we do have voicemails.
Time once again for some vegan freak voicemail. Maybe we'll hear from a hot chick.
Or a choice male.
Callers make us happy and help us keep our sanity, even if all they wanna do is fucking complain about the shitload of profanity.
Okay, this first voicemail is kind of an interesting one. I think it's very interesting.
Okay.
So I'm gonna roll it.
Hello, it's Bob, Jenna. Just wanted to call in, voicemail in about, the problem that I'm having. I don't really like fruits or vegetables much. I mean, I could sparingly eat them, and I could go weeks without eating them again because it's just like most of them are just like really gag worthy to me. That's not really healthy of me, and I don't take any vitamins or supplements or anything. And pretty much the thing that I eat every day is just like potatoes, pasta. That's pretty much what I eat every day, and I'm pretty much sick of it. I don't think I'm benefiting from it at all, and it's not going really good for me, and I'm not really the healthiest person ever. I mean, I feel really unhealthy, even though, I'm vegan and all. It's just the things that I eat the same every day. I don't know how to cook at all either, so, it's not really good. I'm just having a really hard time. I mean, I know for a fact I'm not going to break veganism. It's something that's really important to me, but I'm not healthy right now. not being this overweight, eating the same thing every day, I'm kind of stressing out. Yeah, any suggestions at all, what I could do, how I could get into eating things that I don't like or don't like that much? Anything would help. Yeah. And I think if you listen to this or answer back or anything would be helpful at all. Yeah, I really love the show. You just hearing discussions about, things that I, haven't heard of. Just really keeps me going. And that's why, I posted a thread in the forums about, public speaking, because, I really want to get the word about veganism out there. I just, wish more people could see what harm it's doing. So, yeah, I'm planning on doing that, and hopefully it could help out some. And every little bit helps. Thanks for listening. Bye.
All right, thanks for that. I didn't mean to speak mockingly of it in the beginning. I just think it's an interesting question.
It is, and I know that there are a lot of people out there, people who really want to be vegan and don't like vegetables.
Yeah.
And so you're not alone.
Not at all. It's a hard question, and I guess what I would think is, if you don't know how to cook and you don't really like a lot of vegetables, it can seem kind of daunting. I think, though, one thing could be that it could be maybe that perhaps when you've had these things in the past, they haven't been well prepared. Mm-hmm. Because there's certain vegetables that I've eaten in the past and not liked, but then had them a different way and really liked them. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, cabbage. Mm-hmm. I've got some real issues with cabbage sometimes. Like boiled cabbage, no. And for a long time, that put me off of cabbage. But I started to have cabbage in different ways and started to like it better. So I was able to change my perception about cabbage. And I think one of the best things to do if you're not really big with cooking, not really into it, I think it's important if you're going to be a healthy vegan that you learn some basics. You know, so make sure you have some just some very basic tools and get a really simple cookbook. And there are a lot of them out there. I think that Vegan Planet actually has a lot of really nice simple recipes in it that are not really difficult to do, and just try those. Mm-hmm. Another thing is that maybe what you need to do is just try some things and see what it is that you do and don't like, right? I mean, Eric Marcus always talks about when he has these public talks, take 15 minutes a day researching different things you might want to eat or how to prepare them, or trying a new cooking technique, or an hour a day or whatever it takes. Try something like that, and you just got to go and take the step and try it. I think that's what you got to do. Yeah,
I think that's a really good idea. And yeah, like you said earlier, maybe you've had something prepared one way, try it prepared a different way. Yeah. Experiment a little. You might mess up a few times, but that's how you learn to cook. It's just by trying things. Get that cookbook and just try some different things. Maybe try one new food a week or something. Maybe a good way is to, since you like to eat pasta, maybe mix in things with your pasta. Like try idea. Some, like throwing in some frozen spinach or something one night, because you can't really taste it all that much if you're throwing it in with like a red sauce.
That's true.
Try throwing things in that are chopped up real small, maybe. Maybe you just don't like big chunks of things, so try that. I wonder, I've read on the forums, and I never knew about this until the forums, that people who are super tasters sometimes have a really hard time eating vegetables.
Some vegetables, tomatoes, right?
Yeah, some vegetables are just like you said, really gross you out because you're overwhelmed with taste buds, basically. And so I would Google that and see if maybe that describes you. I don't know. That's one possibility.
Well, the other thing is there's always a thread to start on the forums. And, you mentioned you're on the forums. I have no idea who you are because I don't read every thread on the forums. But maybe you could start a thread on the forums and ask, what should I do? And there are a lot of people on our forums who have incredible cooking skills. Dina's on there. Dino is on there. Every so often, Issa pops in. Dreena is on there every so often. And not to mention, a bunch of people who are on the forums have maybe been through similar things and know know some good ideas.
Yeah. And your tastes do change as you get older too. So you might have not liked something in the past, and you might like it again in the future. So I would keep trying occasionally something different that you haven't tried in a while.
I would actually make it, if I were in that position, I would try to make it like something you would do really soon.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you keep eating like the same pasta and bread and potatoes and stuff, I mean, eventually you could really get yourself in a position where you're going to have some pretty negative health outcomes. So
yeah.
I would think it'd be really useful for you and healthy for you to start thinking about this sometime really soon, and start moving in that direction pretty soon. And look at it as something you're doing for your health. I mean, don't choke down raw broccoli if that's not what you like, but try to find a vegetable or 2 or 3 that you're really into.
Mm-hmm.
And then move outward from there and try to find things that are similar. And maybe what you could try to do is, I don't know where you live, but if you know other people, sometimes it's nice to have cook with other people and try something.
That's true.
So that's one thing. I mean, I think Jenna had that good advice about maybe having some pasta and throwing some stuff in with the pasta. Like we make a dish with pasta and kale that I really like.
Mm-hmm.
And kale is one of those things that, I think before I went vegan, I didn't eat a whole lot of.
Mm-hmm.
But now I eat it fairly often, and I really like it.
Yeah.
So, it takes a little bit of getting used to. And I think if you try to eat these things, over a couple weeks, like Jenna said, I think your taste will change.
Yeah. So yeah, just try different things. You really need to get those green vegetables in there. And like Bob just said, it's really important for your health. You take care of yourself.
It is
we
indeed.
We need our healthy vegans out there.
We do.
And at least maybe start taking a vitamin once in a while.
Yeah,
because you need that B12.
Absolutely.
So,
You need B12
yeah.
and take a multivitamin too. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're not taking any supplements at all and you're not really eating a wide variety of foods, you really should take some vitamins.
Yeah.
But I would really try to do it soon. And I know it seems kind of daunting and it seems kind of hard, but really basic cooking techniques are not that difficult in so many ways.
Mm-hmm.
You can do a lot with very little. And I think that's what I would try to emphasize if I were in your position.
Yeah. And like you said, mentioned to buy a cookbook that looks like it would suit, some of the things that you might like. But another good thing is to browse around on the web. Go to some of the sites that I mentioned earlier, or go to VegWeb.
VegWeb
It's
has
got
a gazillion
ton
recipes.
of recipes, and some of them are really, really simple. And a lot of them are really simple, actually, and something that could be really easy to try. So
Absolutely. So good luck. Hang in there and, give it a shot.
yeah. Oh, and Sarah Kramer's second cookbook, The Garden of Vegan, has a whole section on things you can cook in the microwave. So if cooking on the stove, scares you, there's a whole section on things you can do in the microwave.
Good point.
So
Excellent point.
there you go.
All right. Our next voicemail is from Joanna.
Hi, Bob and Jenna. My name is Joanna, and I'm calling you from the oh-so-exciting city of Fresno, California. I've been a vegetarian for almost 2 years now, and because of my job, I eat all of my meals in a cafeteria where it's hard enough to find vegetarian options, let alone vegan ones. What I really wanted to talk to you guys about was about the girl being bullied at school. And I'm halfway through college, and I'm honestly still teased about it, which has become pretty ridiculous, I think. But I've really become somewhat of a novelty with these people, and honestly, not a day goes by that something isn't said to me about it. And it mostly occurs with my coworkers, and initially it really bothered me. I honestly don't see how I'm so different. And, part of me thinks that maybe they just do it to justify their own meat eating, and that, making fun of me really means that they just don't have to look at the fact that maybe, I have a point. But, really I've just come to realize that people are always going to say and do stupid things because they want to get a rise out of you or they think it's funny. But honestly, I found that the best way to get them to stop is to just sit back and, think, okay, you're an idiot and you're going to do this regardless of my reaction. So maybe if I don't say something angry or bitter back to you or, I don't say anything sarcastic, which I tend to do a lot, that maybe you'll stop. And actually, with me personally, it's slowed down a lot because of that. So hopefully that's helped. And actually, with all the teasing that happens to me, actually 2 of my coworkers have talked to me about becoming vegetarians. And one has been one since October after talking to me about it, and one actually talked to me about it yesterday. So, I mean, I'll take that if it means that some people can make it change. So I think that's great. That's pretty much it. I mean, the voicemail is awkward, but thanks for the podcast, and it's really helpful when I feel like they all grow out. Take care.
Well, thanks so much for that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think it's proof that living well is the best revenge.
Definitely.
So I think good advice there, solid advice. And if you just stick to your morals, eventually, like she said, people come around and start asking and wondering.
Yep.
I think people want to imagine that we do live miserably, and they try to make us miserable so we can fulfill their dreams about how we really live.
Yes, I really think we're just a total pain in the ass.
Well, we kind of are.
We are.
It's all right.
That's
though.
right.
We need to be.
We do. So.
Anything else to add?
No.
All right, we're going to move on to our next voicemail.
Hi, Bob and Jenna. This is Maddie. I finally convinced myself to leave this message after Bob's email. Thank you very much. I was just wondering, I have so many things I want to say to you guys, but I'm going to keep it short because it's a voicemail. And I also want to say I feel like you guys are my family because I don't know any vegans, so it's really nice to listen to vegans talk, even when you guys just talk about dog farts and stuff. But anyway, so like I said, I don't know any other vegans, even though apparently, I live in Santa Cruz, and supposedly it's this big vegan mecca or vegetarian-friendly place, and it is, but I don't know any. And so I live my life around the dreaded omnivores, and I have a hard time not preaching and not getting frustrated, and I don't really think that I preach, but I get so riled up that I just I sputter, and I'm not really as eloquent as, I can't even just say fuck a lot, it just, I like right now, somebody will say something about me being vegan, like, oh, does that mean that you don't need anything to cast a shadow? And it makes me so angry. And so I guess I was just wondering if you guys or any other listeners had any hints on, how to approach non-vegans and really like how to spread the word without giving people a bad impression, because I don't know how to not be the angry vegan asshole and still be realistic and not sugarcoat, because I'm not a sugarcoater. I'm not euphemistic, and so maybe you guys know how to come across as friendly, warm, compassionate people, which I feel like I am, but I don't really know how to act like it to omnivores, I guess, which is hard because I'm surrounded by them all the time. I live with them. But anyways, you guys rock. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you, Maddie.
Yeah, thanks so much for the kind words.
Yeah, that's
We're
awesome.
happy that we can provide you with some company.
Yeah, and that is a really tough thing. It's really hard not to get just super angry at either stupid comments or just questions and, not wanting to spew off all these facts and arguments for veganism. And sometimes that's okay. Sometimes the situation calls for it. But I think the best thing is to do is like deep breath, smile.
Yep.
And, try and patiently explain or just give sort of short answers. That's what I do with a lot of people. Like if you can tell that they're kind of curious, that they just have no clue about what's going on, you give them this kind of the short answers, and then if the conversation develops, you might want to explain some more. But I rarely go into long tirades about it.
It's really tempting to do it. Like you said, it's so easy to kind of get off on rants because we feel so passionately about this. And one of the things that I found interesting in the voicemail was you said, you don't speak in euphemisms. And that's one of the things that I think when we talk about meat, we're always talking about meat as euphemisms, right? We talk about it as meat, not as flesh. We talk about slaughter as slaughter, not as killing, right? We always talk about it in all these kinds of euphemistic ways. And I think that's one reason that vegans have a hard time with the rest of the world, is that we see past that euphemism that everybody else sees, and that puts us in a very weird position vis-a-vis the rest of the world. I think, though, that in general, again, like we said last time, I think the best thing to do is just to live well. I think that annoys people enough. Or maybe it makes them see that in fact you're comfortable and happy with what you're doing, and it makes them think, well, maybe this vegan isn't like some crazy ranting asshole, maybe they aren't trying to convert me or whatever. And I think that living well is one of the best things to do. That doesn't mean you shouldn't answer questions honestly, because you should. But I think often it requires sometimes taking a deep breath and maybe giving someone a little bit more benefit of the doubt than you might want to.
Yeah.
For me, that's what it involves anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if their questions are genuine, if they're just trying to piss you off, then that's a whole nother matter.
Yeah, that is a whole different matter. And
But-
if they're your friends and they're trying to piss you off, there's probably... I'm always hesitant because everybody's relationship with their friends is different. But if I had friends of mine who were pissing me off about veganism, there would come a point at which we would have a conversation, and in which actually this happened with a friend of ours, in which I did have a conversation with him about why I didn't appreciate some things. And so I think that's worth saying. I think it's really worth letting people know that this is something you're serious about, and you don't appreciate always being bothered by it. I mean, I think at first people are going to make rude comments and things, but I think after a while, eventually your friends should get used to it and just get over it already.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
what I think.
Definitely. But some people never get used to it. Like, we have friends that we've, known we were vegan. And, like, for years now, they've been like, so, wait, you don't eat this? What do you eat? Wait, you don't eat that? They're like, it just doesn't enter their consciousness at all. So, there are some people that are always going to be a little clue-free, but...
Well, clue-free is different than rude, though.
Yeah, of
if
course.
people are rude to you, there comes a point at which you just want to rant and rave and tell them to fuck off. But it's good to avoid that if you can at first.
Yeah, and then just come to the forums and rant.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. So it's good to avoid that at first because, it can turn people off. So often, I'm the kind of person who usually tells people exactly what I'm thinking, and that gets me into trouble. But when it comes to veganism a lot, I kind of try to step back. I kind of try to take it slow and easy, and I always try not to kind of proselytize, because I always think about how I feel if I meet someone who's Christian, and that Christian says to me, I'm born again. Well, great, you're born again. And then they say to me, have you accepted Jesus into your life as your personal savior? Do you know that Armageddon's coming? Do you believe that George W. Bush is receiving orders from God, and all the other 8 million things that, come with it, right? I mean, I don't want to turn into that, right? So I try to let the conversation evolve, and I try to be respectful of people's space, even though I feel like what that person is doing is a problem. But, that's my feeling. So I try to let the conversation evolve. I try to let people come to it on their own terms, rather than trying to be the kind of guy who goes to people and turns them off. And I think some people are going to come around to it and other people aren't.
I think you're right.
What's wrong? Am I in trouble?
No.
Okay. Yeah, that look on your face like, uh-oh.
No.
Okay. I thought you wouldn't be upset with me making fun of George Bush.
No, not at all.
I didn't think so.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. That's not really an answer, but here is a better answer. You should look into Carol Adams' book, Living Among Meat Eaters. Mm-hmm. It's a good book. Gives you a lot of practical advice. Mm-hmm. And somebody else I know wrote a book with some advice in it, too.
Yeah.
All right,
a very, very familiar title.
And quite.
But anyway.
Familiar. Yeah, but no. Good luck.
Yes.
And keep in touch with us.
Mm-hmm.
And don't be shy. You can always call our show.
Of course.
We'll get it on eventually.
Eventually.
We get a queue, but we work through the queue. We get there. All right. And our next one is from
There's
Mary.
one more. Yep.
This is Mary. Hi, Bob and Jenna. Pretty much I was calling because yesterday, the 10th, I picked up my niece from school. She's 6 years old. She's in the first grade. And we somehow got on the topic about how I don't eat meat or how I'm vegan, but she doesn't know what vegan is. Her mom's vegetarian, but not for, I guess, the ethical reasons. She just doesn't like the taste of meat, and but she's pretty much a junk food vegetarian and eats a lot of cheese and dairy, so not very healthy. But we were talking about meat and how I don't eat it, and she brought up how she likes lamb. And I said, do you know what lamb is? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, tell me what it is. And she's like, oh, it's a baby sheep. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, you don't eat lamb? I'm like, no, I don't eat lamb. She's like, but it's so good. And I just kind of was in shock, because how could she think something tastes so good when it's a baby and it's an animal? And I try not instilling my vegan ways on her, but because my parents and her mom would be very upset with me. But I didn't really have a question. I just thought I'd share that with you. I so badly wish she was my kid, because she wouldn't be eating like that or thinking that baby animals taste so good. But anyways, like your guys' show. Hope to hear this on the podcast. If I do, I want my fucking pin. Okay? Bye.
Did you send us your address?
Yes, you must send me your address, and I will send you your pin.
You have to send us your address. Anybody who wants a button, if they've been on the show, must send Jenna their address.
Yes.
Send Jenna their address. Jenna@veganfreak.com.
There you go.
Send her your address. You
Or send it to podcast@veganfreak.com.
Okay.
Because that comes to both of us. So.
Yeah, but then I sits in my email and gets lost.
But no, I get it then too.
I know.
That's the point of that.
Yeah, okay. Whatever. Sorry, I'm tired.
Okay, but yeah, that's really strange because most children, if you tell them like lamb is baby sheep, they'd be like, ah! So that's really strange to me.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of surprised by that reaction because I think a lot of kids have that reaction, like no, when they find out. So I don't really know how to make that connection any clearer.
Well, I don't know. Maybe go take her to a farm and say, this is the baby sheep.
That might do it.
That might do it. I don't know.
But it goes to show that the kind of, I don't want to call it brainwashing because that's not really the right word, but really the education of meat eating begins very young in our culture. So, and that's a prime example of it.
Indeed.
Wow. Well, thanks for that story. Man, kind of sad.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can do other things though, like you can get her to understand what a vegan is and what kind of foods vegans eat, and introduce her some really good, vegetable dishes, and try to get her to as she grows up to see what your choices are and understand those choices. And maybe when she gets to a certain age, she'll understand it and make those choices too.
Yeah.
All right. Uh-oh.
There we go.
267-295-1944. Write the number down on your refrigerator door. Add the 001 country code if you call us from Vienna. That's how you leave a voicemail for good old Bob and Jenna.
Okay, so we're done with the emails, we're done with the voicemails. And now we're going to move into a musical interlude.
Yes, now we have our song.
Sorry, I screwed up. Our music today is, again, from Angry Duck on the forums. He sends me things on occasion, and I much appreciate them. This is a movement away from the hardcore and punk we've been playing lately. This is Vegan Nutrition by the Disciples of Discipline.
Carnivorous MCs, best go home and eat some veggies. All you carnivorous MCs, best go home and eat your veggies. All you carnivorous MCs, best go home and eat your veggies. All you carnivorous MCs, best go home and eat your veggies. Nutrition efficient MCs, that's on a mission. Eat your vitamins and minerals, body, mind, and spiritual. Nutrition efficient MCs, that's on a mission. Eat your vitamins and minerals, body, mind, and spiritual. I got a knapsack full of fat beets, carrots, and some ginger. I'm always eating well, that's why I'm difficult to injure. I'll drink some veggie juice and spruce up my whole morning. Forget about those rumors that a vegan's diet is boring, cause I'm touring the world, enduring every obstacle and every chance I get. I stop and eat some vegetables, whether it's turnips and rutabagas or parsnips or sweet potatoes. It seems to come out tasty when it's mixed with grains that are made organically. I used to get bronchitis chronically, till I consciously decided to eliminate dairy from my diet. If it's high in fructose, or even close, then I won't buy it. Won't even try it if I can't read the ingredients. With expedience, I'd like to impede the progress of genetic modification. It's past the point of looking back. These tactics are whack and the strategy's corrupted. To be abrupt, it's gotta stop. Like quit fucking with my food before I chop you with my slicer. Lyrical dicer, serving up stir fries so spicy that I might be labeled dangerous. I wonder who the stranger is in this existence. Insistence brings resistance. What we need is assistance to close the distance between the help and the needy. Quit acting seedy and free yourself. Nutrition efficient MCs, that's on a mission. Eat your vitamins and minerals, body, mind, and spiritual. Nutrition efficient MCs, that's on a mission. Eat your vitamins and minerals, body, mind, and spiritual. Broccoli, cabbage, squash, and cauliflower. These are some of the vegetables I eat to obtain my power. Brown rice, quinoa, barley, and couscous. Just some of the grains that my body puts to use. strawberries, apples, pears, and bananas. A small example of fruits that keep me on point like ball-peen hammers. I eat a protein made of wheat, gluten, or soybean. Get it all organic so as to keep my temple clean. And when I wanna heal, I use herbs, flowers, and roots. Vegan nutrition is the lifestyle that I choose. So let me break it down, the intestinal metropolis, like acidophilus. From the mouth to the stomach, food plummets through the esophagus. Vitamins digested, your health is manifested. If you make this investment, your life can be erected as monument and testament of how your spirit can be protected. Know that your physical frame and your soul are connected. Nutrition efficient MCs that's on a mission. Eat your vitamins and minerals, body, mind, and spiritual. Nutrition efficient MCs that's on a mission. Eat your vitamins and minerals, body, mind, and spiritual. All you carnivorous MCs, best go home and eat your veggies. All you carnivorous MCs, best go home and eat your veggies. All you carnivorous MCs, best go home and eat your veggies. All you carnivorous MCs, best go home and eat your veggies. Cycles of discipline, vegan nutrition.
Okay, so that was Vegan Nutrition, and that was by the Disciples of Discipline.
Yes, it was.
And we are non-carnivorous MCs. We're eating our veggies.
We are. Now I'm hungry.
I know, I am too. Well, this is what happens when it's 7 o'clock and we get home from work and do this, and,
Yeah.
we need to eat dinner.
Eat dinner.
But before we eat dinner, we need to move on.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got 2 little interview segments coming up. The first one we have is with Nell, and Nell talks about her latest review segment, where she did what?
Cookies.
Where she did cookies. Everybody loves cookies.
Yes, and we give you a little preview of the party that they did the review at last week in the voicemail, one of the drunken voicemails. And so you have an idea about what it's like. Okay, we're here with Nell, once again, our roving reporter, who this time is talking about cookies, everyone's favorite subject. Hi, Nell.
Hey, guys.
So, Nell, you went down to Jersey, huh?
I did.
Why?
I wasn't planning on having a review for a while because of tax season and all that lovely stuff. But I was reading the Jersey thread and talking to Sherbs, and she insisted that I come down for a visit and do a cookie review, and everybody would help out and bring cookies themselves.
Cool.
I think there were like 10 of us, and then plus Liam, and we ended up with 14 different kinds of cookies.
Wow.
Which is just as much as the chocolate, I believe. We load up when it involves sweets.
Yeah. Easy to do.
Yes. It was great. It was so much fun. It was at Vegan Jedi and Vegan Witch's house, and they put together a Mediterranean potluck. There was so much good food.
Wow.
And it was such a great crowd. I loved meeting them and getting to know them, and now I'm sad that I don't live near them. I can't go.
The pictures, it made it all look like a lot of fun.
It was hilarious.
And of course your voicemail from last week, which I believe was Tofu Punk.
Were there 2 or 3 voicemails?
Yeah, there are 2 of them. I sort of clipped them together.
Yeah, it was hilarious. I wasn't as drunk as the rest of them, I don't think.
Well, they keep saying it was a sugar high, and I'm like, sure it was.
Well,
I'm sure that was part of it.
Eat a whole cookie. It was so much fun, and it was a late night. We were all there very late, and then I spent the weekend with Cheryl, and we ended up making a brunch the next day, which is awesome.
Oh, that sounds so good.
Yeah, it was a good weekend. So I gotta get more of those in.
Yeah.
So what kind of cookies did you have, and what kind of came out on top in terms of what people were into?
We had a really good variety. We had a couple by the Boston Cookies, a couple by Alternative Baking Company. We had Liz Lovely's. We had Nana's, and what's the last one? Oh, Health Valley, Newman's Owns, and Enjoy Life is a brand which I hadn't heard of before.
Me either.
So we had a really good variety.
Yeah.
The absolute favorite was the Alternative Baking Company. I believe it's the double chocolate. Where is it? Sorry. I can't find it right now, but it was the double chocolate one, and that one disappeared. None of the others disappeared, but that one disappeared, yeah. And then my favorite came in second, which were the Health Valley. They're a cream cookie, a vanilla cream. That's my phone, I'm sorry.
Oh,
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
Not a problem.
No worries.
And then Liz Lovely's came in third. There were so many random comments. That's what really shocked me when I was going over them this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people were making up words.
Well, that's what you
like
do
they
when you're
said,
drunk.
yeah, the double chocolate cookies. Somebody said they were fudgelicious. It was hilarious, and I didn't take into account how much drinking was done beforehand. The ones that were tough were the health ones. People weren't really looking for a healthy cookie like the Fig Newmans. They're really good, and I love having them in the house, but they, compared to Liz Lovely's, everybody loves Liz Lovely's over the Fig Newmans.
Sure, yeah.
Newmans,
Liz Lovely's
so.
are just like loaded with earth balance and all kinds of other stuff, so sugar.
All the tasty stuff.
Oh, yeah.
The only one that didn't get a really good review was Enjoy Life, the Snickerdoodle, because the package was open when we got it, so only like 2 or 3 people actually ate it. So that wasn't, but they're good, but only 3 or 4 people ate them. So can you hear that now?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm usually good and turn off my phone, but
it's not a problem. We've got like the dog panting in the background, and every neighbor, since it's nice out, has some sort of motorized vehicle going. So we got the ATVs and the motorcycles and the construction vehicles, and it's just insane right now.
What I don't understand is that in rural America, the moment it gets nice out, every redneck everywhere gets on some kind of motorized vehicle of some kind or another and drives around very loudly all over the place, and it drives me insane.
We don't get a lot of that out here.
Lucky you.
Yeah. So you didn't even get to the simple treats that you had sent us.
No,
into your review.
My friends sent them to me, and since my post office is not good at all, they didn't get to me on time. So when I got back on Monday, when I got to work, the box was sitting on my desk, which was great because I didn't have to share with other people. But they sent me 2 of everything, so I split them up and sent you half of them. And I ate the chocolate chip and the brownie, and I really like them.
Yeah, we didn't try the brownie yet. We had the one with the raspberry.
That was good.
And then
Jam dog.
Yeah, that was good. And then the chocolate chip.
The blondie. Which wasn't so much like a blondie.
Favorite.
Yeah, I liked that one a lot too. It was more like an oat bar, I think, with chocolate chips in it. So it was really nice. It wasn't too sweet, but it was sweet enough to get your sweet tooth going.
I don't know. I thought it was pretty sweet, and it kind of reminded me of chocolate chip cookie dough almost.
That's probably why I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't like the peanut butter one as much just because it didn't taste like peanut butter.
Did I even have that one?
I don't think so.
Did
There's still some.
Yeah, you snuck that one when I wasn't looking, huh?
There's still some downstairs.
Yeah, sure.
No, I mean the first ingredient was peanut butter, and to me it didn't really taste purely peanut buttery. But
I don't think I've tried that one yet. But they're another company that's kind of borderline, like they're they're more of a healthy cookie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're still, high in calories, but they have the nuts and the oats that you can taste.
Yeah, and they use canola oil and cane sugar, so it's not so bad for you.
Right.
Yeah. It's a nice something between having completely healthy and completely bad for you. So.
Yeah. The brand that definitely won out straight across the board was the Alternative Baking Company, though. That one was really good, and everybody loved it. I think we had 2 or 3 different versions of it, and everybody loved them all. They were really well. They're really soft.
Ah, yeah, that helps.
Yeah, and they're big, and they got huge chips on them, so I think that helps. The extra sweet built in.
Cool.
So
yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Are you going to post some of the stuff on the website that you normally post on?
Yep. There's pictures and the ratings and comments. I don't have costs yet because I didn't buy all of them, so I'm not sure what they are. If I can track that down, I'll put those up there too.
Cool. And that website address is
veganreview.blogspot.com.
excellent.
Okay.
So we'll make sure that we link to that in the show notes. And also for those of you that are on our forums, there are pictures on the forums of some pretty happy-looking people at the get-together.
Yes.
Yes. And always in your reviews, for those of you who haven't checked out the reviews yet, there are pictures of all the items that you eat, so
Yeah.
it's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really do a nice
The whole
job with
time.
that now. You look so
Thanks.
professional and so together in ways that we are not.
Well, doing one review and doing a weekly podcast is a different story.
Well, thank you so much, Nell.
You're welcome.
And we'll be in touch with you again. Any ideas what you're thinking about for the next one whenever it comes?
The next one's going to be right before the trip, and it's going to be beer.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
that'll be
Oh,
good.
that's right. You're
Me-
getting help from other vegan freaks who are flying flying
Yes.
in. Yes.
Yes, and I don't have a yard, and so I'm going to have it at my friend's house around this corner who has a yard, and she's excited about it.
Very
And
cool.
there's a couple people from the forums in New England that are going to be coming around too, so it should be a
Nice.
lot of fun. And hopefully it'll be nice out. We can go outside.
Excellent. Yeah, that's the perfect time of the year for doing
Yes.
that. You should
And
also
maybe I'll have leftovers.
Yeah. You could also do like vegan, bratwurst sausage type things on the grill.
Oh, that's
I've
a
never
good
had
idea.
that.
They're good. They're really bad for you, but they're good.
Well, it
The
depends.
tofurkey ones.
They
Some
go
of the
well with beer,
tofurkey.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of them are good and some of them aren't.
Yeah, that's a good. But
Yeah, I think I can't remember which ones I liked and didn't like, but there was one I really didn't like and there was one I really liked. Both from Tofurkey. But I don't know.
I'll have to look into that.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Nell. We really appreciate it.
Great, anytime.
And we'll have you on again whenever you're ready for the beer review, probably in July, and
Yes.
looking forward to it.
Yes, great.
okay, so thank you, Nell, once again for doing our being our roving reporter and doing another vegan review. And we're looking forward to the next one.
Absolutely. And man, that noise in there is so annoying.
Yeah. You'll hear it in the next interview too.
Yeah. This is our asshole neighbor across the street. He's got this big machine that he gets out and drives around, and it is very loud and very annoying and horrible. I want to do things to it. Destroy it. I want to destroy it. I really do.
I know you do.
I really do. I mean, like, I have these video game scenes in my head, or like action movie scenes where I see myself walking down the street and all of a sudden I pull out a grenade launcher and launch a grenade launcher at this machine and it blows up. That's how much I hate this machine. No, I really do.
Yeah. Well, he was using it earlier today too, because he waits till it gets really warm.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody has their windows open and it's really nice out. You want to enjoy yourself at your house, but no, you can't because there's this horrible machine noise.
78 degrees today, and he's got this machine out driving around. Of course, everybody has their windows open. It's this, this really loud machine. It is to make me crazy.
Yep. So.
Yeah. Well, anyway, our next interview is with Dreena Burton.
Yes. Dreena. And we explain in the introduction that, we have several cookbooks. She has her website, which she mentions in the interview, and she's been on Eric's Diner before, so you may have heard her recipes before.
Yep.
Might have seen her in a few magazines here and there.
And we've been cooking out of her cookbooks a bit lately, and so many good things in there.
Yeah,
Didn't we have something last night from
Last
her
night
book?
was
Yeah.
from the Everyday Vegan.
It was
the
good.
tomato olive rice bake, and I'm a sucker for anything with olives in it, so
Yeah, I
I immediately
know.
was drawn to the recipe, and it was really tasty.
It was really good.
Yeah.
I was into it.
definitely.
It's really tasty.
And I can't wait to make banana pancakes again this weekend because we have a lot of ripe bananas.
We do indeed. Good stuff. Good stuff. So here's our interview with Dreena, and we'll be back right after the interview.
Hi, everybody. We're here with Dreena Burton, who you may know from various places around the internet and from her cookbooks, Viva La Vegan and The Everyday Vegan. And you've probably heard her before on Eric's Diner doing some cooking segments, and you might also know her from her blog, vivalavegan.blogspot.com. So thanks for talking with us today, Dreena.
Thank you both for having me. It's really great to be on.
Yeah, welcome.
Am I like officially? I know I was always kind of freaky being a vegan, but I guess I'm super freaky now.
That's what we need. We need a super vegan freak pin. No.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, the theme song could be that, super freaks.
Yeah. That isn't it Rick James?
Yeah. I think so. I like that one actually, but
I do too. I think it's a great song.
Excellent.
Yeah, so thank you very much for having me. It's really great.
Oh, it's an honor. We absolutely adore your cookbook, so we're very glad to have you on. And I follow your blog regularly and drool over all the baked goods that you make. So,
oh, thanks. I love baking more than anything. Even though I do a lot of cooking as well, I love the smell and I don't know. There's just something so satisfying about pulling out a nice baked good. But you do a lot of baking too, right? So
yeah,
Jenna,
I've been doing some. I've been trying not to do any after the whole Christmas rush, but just to save on the waistline. But I do love to bake too. It's just something very satisfying about mixing it all up and putting it in the oven
and you get that nice smell through the house because I enjoy the smells of cooking, but they linger. Like sometimes you don't want to smell the onions and garlic and that forever, but the smell of sweet in the house is good.
It really is.
Indeed.
Well, maybe to begin, we could talk about how you got into the business of writing cookbooks to begin with.
Sure. It was kind of just a real gradual thing. I don't think I ever set out to, like when I was younger, I don't think I ever thought, I'll write a cookbook. Is that puppy in the background?
Unfortunately, no. It's our asshole neighbors across the street who... who have for a very long time been doing construction on their house, and they have they have this huge machine. It's this 4-wheel thing, and it's got it's just horrible. It's a horrible It's a horrible thing. And they wait until the weather's nice. They wait until the weekends, and they start driving this machine around the neighborhood, and it drives everyone insane, including me.
That's like the summertime is always barbecues out on the patios around where we live, and we just get the wafts of the stinky smells from the barbecues, and it's horrible. But I'm getting way off track.
No, it's okay. I'm happy to talk about my really rude redneck neighbors.
Well, and if you hear background noise here, it's because the kids are just finishing lunch, and they're probably going to be running around. But so I don't think I ever really, like I said, thought, I'll write a cookbook someday. But when I became vegetarian and then vegan, there weren't a lot of cookbooks out like there are now. I mean, there's so much out that people can peruse through and pick from and look at what some of their favorite foods are and the flavors that they like best, and then pick a cookbook that they think will work for them. But back then there wasn't so much, and there wasn't even that much, especially where I grew up. There was not a lot of vegan foods available and things like soy milk or tofu or anything. So I just dabbled myself a lot with recipes. And then when my father-in-law had a heart attack after, I'm trying to think how many years ago that was now, like 8, I think it was maybe 8 years ago. And I wrote about that story in The Everyday Vegan because that was sort of the reason I put pen to paper with that one, because my parents-in-law both went through a complete transformation, essentially. He had a heart attack, and he was not someone that you'd look at and think, wow, that's a heart attack waiting to happen. And I mean, he did not have the big extended belly, and he wasn't, really red in the face all the time, and all those things that you look at. He just looked pretty average. But he ate that very typical diet, very meat and potatoes based, and they always ate meat probably at least, I'd say maybe 3 times a day, definitely 2 times a day. And he had a lot of stress he had his own business and he had a lot of stress in his life. And so the short of it was his cardiologist told him to adopt a vegetarian diet and to follow Dean Ornish's program for reversing heart disease. And I remember sitting in the hospital with my husband's mom, and she looked at me and she said, "We're going to become vegetarian." And my husband and I had been vegan already at that point for several years, and no one had ever talked to us about it in any way of expressing interest in making changes. And I just looked at her and I was like really kind of shocked. And she explained to me what the cardiologist said, and he said, you know, you've really got to make dietary changes. You also have to do other things like exercise and find ways to reduce your stress like yoga, etc. But you've got to make these changes. And so they were at that point close to, I think they were 60 at the time. And I grew up in Newfoundland, so that is not a place that's very open to vegetarianism. Well, it's better now, but it wasn't then. And they had lived their whole lives eating that diet, and they made these overnight changes. And they then asked me, okay, what do we do? And what are some recipes? And at that point I thought, well, I'll put some things together. And it just kind of went from there. And we moved out west after that point, and now living in British Columbia. And this is such a, you know, gosh, it's so much better for being living a natural and healthier lifestyle and following a vegan, vegetarian diet. And so that's where I just went full-time with it and started doing my recipes, etc. And then the kids came along, and then I did the second book. So, and now I just try to squeeze in recipes and cooking wherever I can.
Excellent.
Between diapers and, you know, everything else going on.
What struck me about the story you just told is that unfortunately it seems increasingly rare to have doctors that are willing to recommend dietary change along the lines of what Ornish recommends, and I think it's a good thing, because that clearly that there's some evidence that does help reverse heart disease. But I think sadly, at least here, a lot of what I hear and see is kind of medical solutions, you know, throwing drugs at it rather than dealing with kind of lifestyle changes. And I think it's great that your parents decided to go with that.
I couldn't agree more. It's so, when I see little glimmers of hope with doctors, it makes me just, you know, I'm so pleased that, you know, I have an incident with a friend recently who she saw a doctor about something, and she mentioned that, this is a friend who recently became vegan too, and mentioned that her family had been eating vegan for a while, and her daughter and the doctor said, "Oh, that's really healthy, that's good." And I said, wow, I can't believe that doctor said that, because, and this was a GP, and I find that, you know, the GPs that I have had experiences with anyhow, they just don't have that nutritional background, so they just take that standard sort of, you know, the understanding that everybody has, other than we do, that the diet is not healthy and that it's not doable, and all these things that, you know, all the problems that can arise. So, yeah, I couldn't agree more. I've been reading Dr. Furman's book about how to disease-proof your child, and his book is just read. I'm about halfway through, but even in that, he talks about how we can really protect our children from so many illnesses and what we think are common ailments like ear infections and those things by their diet and early in life. And it's really important to put those measures in place early in life and with a plant-based diet. So it's sometimes it's hard for me, because I see all these little kids around me and all these parents, and I try to spread the word where I can, but you have to pick your places.
Sure.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know, because people can really get put off by being heavy-handed with it. But yeah, it's I think we're seeing little changes, but not as many as we'd like to.
Yeah. And having your family was definitely an influence in your second cookbook. I mean, you have specifically the whole list at the end of when to feed foods to your child, but I think throughout, just the kinds of recipes that you have in there. Could you maybe explain to people who aren't familiar with your cookbooks sort of a little bit about what went into each one?
You think there are people who aren't familiar with her cookbooks?
Yeah.
Well, if they're not familiar, they should be.
There you go. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I'll take the flattery anytime. You know. Yeah, with Everyday Vegan, it was a project that I started when it was just my husband and I. And so I had a lot of time to cook, excuse me, and a lot of time to write. So I think that cookbook, the recipes, not all of them are, I think most of them are pretty everyday, but there's certainly more in there that are a little bit more time intensive, like if you're doing something with phyllo pastry or just doing little elaborate more desserts that are a little bit more involved, something like that. But with Vive la Vegan, oh gosh, when my first daughter was born, I just was thrown for a loop. I mean, it's really hard to kind of explain how much different your life can be with a baby to take care of and how little time you have. And when I began introducing foods to her, I met with my naturopath and sat down and talked to her, and my naturopath is very open to the vegan diet, and she explained how to introduce foods so that their allergenic risks would be reduced, because most people introduce things that some foods that we don't even really think could be highly allergenic, like citrus, and they could be introduced, say, at 7 months, and then babies have trouble with that, digesting things that are more allergenic, and it can also, I guess, increase the risks later on. So she gave me the schedule, and I followed it really to the letter, and my daughter never had any digestive issues at all, or any troubles with things like rashes or constipation or anything. Well, I have never found my kids to be constipated anyhow. Anyways, so I followed that schedule, and it worked out great for her, and I learned a lot too, because at that point I started to learn more about whole grains and different legumes and different ways to use seeds, because at one point I was only giving seeds to my daughter, not nuts, because they are more allergenic. And so it sort of changed how I looked at food and how I would prepare things. And at that point I thought, okay, I've got to find faster ways to get food together, and I started to come up with recipes using my food processor more, or letting the oven do one-pot dishes for me, or soups doing all the cooking, that kind of thing, because I just needed that measure of efficiency in the kitchen. And that book is, I think that's where those recipes are somewhat a little faster and maybe easier that people might find in that regard, because I did them with a toddler under my feet and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I noticed for even those of us who don't have kids but are busy doing whatever, the recipes are nice, because like you can start it and then put it in the oven, or it's done quickly. So I really appreciate having those recipes around.
Yeah, and I also I'm not someone, I've mentioned this on my blog recently, I'm not someone that has a ton of kitchen gadgets. I guess I've always been pretty much with the basics. So even things such as cookies or cakes, I do them pretty much all with bowl and spoon, because I want it to be simple for a lot of people who are starting out cooking, people who are maybe in their teenage years or in university or whatever, and they don't have all the things like mixers and, fancy blenders and all those gadgets that you have later on in life, or if you're a real foodie and you want to go out and get those things. So that was kind of, where I wanted to keep my recipes as well, just being simple in how you can prepare them.
Sure.
Yeah.
And fewer dishes is always good too. So.
Exactly.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah. And you just mentioned your blog. How did you get started doing your blog?
The blog, I have to probably give a little credit to Jennifer Schmoo on that one, because we had been emailing a little bit after I did some Eric's Diner segments, and she emailed me about a couple of things that I had talked about on the segments. And at that point, I had had my second daughter, and she was probably 6 months, and those first 6 months are just insanely crazy, and they still are most days. But there comes a point, like around when they reach 11, 12 months, where you realize you get a little bit of freedom back again. And she'd been emailing me, and she one day just said, "Hey, I have a blog, you should check it out." And I thought, what the heck is a blog? It's funny, because I'd always visited Ryan's veg blog. I've been on that one for years, but I didn't realize the whole concept of the blog. I call it the blogdom. It's a whole world out there. And when she when I got her email and checked it out, I thought, hey, this is pretty cool. I guess I can do something like this. And do I have time to do something like this now? So I just carved out a little time in the morning because I'm an early riser, and that's when I put on my posts. And it's been a lot of fun. And I have to say, much like I guess you guys probably find in your forums, that there's such an incredible support that you get from the people who visit blogs, and I guess with your forum. I mean, I've just been so overwhelmed and just encouraged by the kind of support and feedback that I get from people. It's far more than I would ever get from family members, for instance. Do you guys find that? I mean,
oh yeah,
it's just incredible.
The forums are a lot of fun in that way, and we had a blog long before. I think the blog we started a while ago, so we have a blog where we get some feedback and support. But lately, we've been espousing some controversial opinions on that page, so it may not be getting the kind of nice support and feedback we've been looking for. But no, it's okay. But you're right. It's cool. What I like about all the online stuff is that it's really easy to hook up with like-minded people and to kind of find a community online when you wouldn't normally, expect to find so many good people online.
It's just fantastic and just warm and encouraging people. And also it's helped give me ideas. Like people may say, oh, have you ever tried this? Or, I saw this somewhere. And it just sort of sparks an idea that I probably would not have had otherwise. I don't think I'd be doing I'm working on the 3rd cookbook now, and I don't know if I would have started that so early if it hadn't been for the blog, just because of the feedback that I had gotten and some of the ideas that I find. I just entered a creative phase, and I go through those phases where I kind of get a little tired of mucking about in the kitchen all the time and making a mess and spending money ruining recipes or whatever. And I just entered a creative phase again, and that's probably why I started the book, was because of all of what happened on the blog and how great people are. So It's been very cool.
Excellent. Yeah, and for those people who do read your blog, you just talking about the new cookbook, you're in the sort of testing phase right now, coming up with the recipes and everything. When can we expect to see this new cookbook?
It's scheduled for fall of 2007, which sounds like a long time away, but it's actually freaking me out. Because I know how long it takes to get recipes sort of tested and then finalized, and I get very much perfection mode with it and want to do it over and over and make sure it's right. And then by the time you pull everything together and go through editing, it takes quite a long time. So it's not that far away from me, but fall 2007 is the date right now. And I'm in testing, so I'm always, oh my gosh, there's days when I have 3 batches of cookies, and I give them to my friends, and they enjoy it. But my husband calls me the cookie lady because I'm always going out the door with cookies. Because, like you mentioned about Christmas, you can't have that stuff around too much.
Exactly.
And I'm kind of like, if someone's having a bad day, I bring them cookies. If someone's having a good day, I bring them cookies.
Well, that's the beauty of cookies. They're the all-around good baked good.
Exactly. They make people happy.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I like the ones that you just posted, the sort of the pink cookies with the sprinkles for your daughter's birthday party.
The kids loved those. They just went crazy, and I didn't tell her. My daughter has a real issue with beets, and I eat grated beets, and she just does not like them, so I didn't tell her that they're pink because of beets. She wouldn't have eaten them, but they loved them. Anything with color and playful, so they were fun.
Excellent. And am I correct in assuming you did have a name for the cookbook already?
Yes, I didn't mention that. It's Eat, Drink, and Be Vegan.
Excellent. That's a great name.
Yeah. Very, it's kind of celebratory, and that's what I think it should be. I mean, as we've talked about, and you guys have talked about on the podcast in the past, it's not about what you can't eat. It's about all the great stuff you can eat. So that's what really we should be looking at and telling people about it. And I know most of us are doing that, but gosh, like everyone thinks it's such a deprivation lifestyle, and it's not. So let's celebrate it. Yeah.
I definitely eat a wider variety of foods now that I'm vegan than I did before I went vegan. So yeah, I don't really like that when people go, oh yeah, well you're depriving yourself of all these things. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm expanding things actually.
Yeah, I think that's true, and I think that when people, eat the typical diet, they get almost addicted to the. It's kind of like what happened with the Super Size Me guy.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember his name, but I think he was getting addicted to the fat, and I sometimes think there's something else in there too that is actually very addicting, and so you get in ruts with food like that. That it's you kind of crave that fat, and so they continue to eat the same things over and over, like McDonald's or whatever. I watched this bizarre show the other night called "You Are What You Eat." It's out of the UK, I think, and I just saw it for the first time. And this gal, I guess, transforms people's diets, and met with this guy who was a police officer, and I think they said he was 36. He looked so much older, and he'd been eating the worst diet of, oh my gosh, it was horrible what he ate every day. She actually showed him put it in a body bag, all the meat he ate, and in a month, and it was like in a body bag.
Oh wow, that's a brilliant idea though.
Isn't it really?
Yeah.
That's what I thought too. I thought yeah.
It's gross.
And yeah, it was gross, because he even looked at it and he said, I can't believe I've consumed that. And she said to him, well, I was watching the show, and like I said, it was the first time I saw it, so I thought, what is she going to do? Like, what kind of diet? I thought, oh, she's going to put him on, boneless, skinless, chicken breast, steamed fish, that kind of thing. But she actually put him on a plant-based diet, and I thought that was really cool. I think later they may have introduced fish, but she put him on strict vegetarian, and he dropped all this weight, and he looked so much better, and it was a very cool show. Yeah.
Nice.
The book, The Pleasure Trap, actually makes the same argument you were just making, where it says that we actually, when we eat that kind of junk, we become addicted to the sugar, the fat, and things like that. And they're not ecological. What's the word I'm looking for? Evolutionary reasons that we become addicted to that. Because presumably the book makes the argument that we humans came up in kind of evolved in circumstances of limited food on occasion, and so when we would find those things, we would want to kind of gorge on them. But clearly, we're not in a situation of limited food anymore. At least not in North America. So
no,
and not for most of us anyway.
Well, exactly. But I mean that makes sense. I haven't read the book, but it seems to make sense, doesn't it? And I think we all know that sugar can be addicting. Like, when you get around the holidays and you're eating a lot of that stuff, and it's kind of like you wake up the next morning and that's what you want again.
I know.
You go through a cycle of it. So.
Absolutely.
Definitely. It's kind of sad. But, sort of getting to a different topic here. You come from a pretty big family. You mentioned in the introduction to your cookbooks. You have, 5 sisters?
I have 5 sisters.
Wow.
Yeah. It was crazy growing up.
I bet.
And the homes then too, like now it's like a lot of the homes that you see have these huge rooms and 4 bathrooms, and we had little tiny rooms, 3 girls to a room, 1 bathroom. My poor father could never get in the bathroom. There was always girls in there, But I had never a brother to be seen in the midst of it all, but it was a crazy time.
I bet. And is anybody else in your family? I mean, you mentioned your in-laws about being vegetarian, but anybody else in your family?
I have one sister that she's not vegan, but they eat a lot of vegan, and they don't, I guess they're kind of a mix of things. They don't eat chicken or beef, but they do eat fish, and they do eat eggs. And my daughter was over there. We went over for Easter a couple of weekends ago, and they had done Easter eggs and done real boiled Easter eggs and painted them. And my daughter saw it, and she said, Mommy, is that an egg? And I said, yes, honey, it is. And she said, you mean that's a baby chicken? And I said, yes, honey, it is. And my sister said, well, it's not a baby chicken. And I said, well, it is. And she said, well, and then we got into this big talk about it. And I said, well, I felt a little awkward afterwards, but I thought, well, I'm not going to, when I talk to my daughter about these things, because she's very, very aware It's just the age that she's at. She's 5 now, and so she's very aware of where her food is coming from, and she sees the flyers and notices, the dead animal on the flyers that come in the mail, and so she's asking all these questions. So when we're in these situations and she asks, I'm going to tell her, yeah, well, that is. So, so they're very open to eating this way, but they don't eat it all the time. And they're the only ones. The rest of my family are very much into the standard stuff.
Sure.
It drives me crazy, but it seems to be the case that it doesn't matter what you do. Your family doesn't always take the message. Do you know what I mean?
Of course. Oh, yeah.
I think, Gary on our forum said you can change the world, but you can't change your family.
Aha, there you go.
I think that's so true.
Yeah.
Oh, it drives me bonkers, though, sometimes, because my mom comes to visit, and she'll stay with us for a month. And that has its own challenges, but she'll stay for a month, and she'll eat our diet and love every bit of it. And she says to me all the time, oh, I could eat this way every day, and it's really not hard, is it, Dreena? No, Mom, it's not. And you don't really need cheese, do you? No, you don't. And she loses, in a month, she can lose about 10 pounds living with us.
Wow.
And she needs to lose the weight. And then she goes back home, and just whoever she's surrounded by, that's what she does.
Sure.
So she goes back and gets back into her old habits, and it drives me a little crazy, but it's just pretty much me. I'm the only vegan one.
Right. But now you live in a very vegan-friendly area. From what I understand,
Mm-hmm.
British Columbia is one of the vegan meccas of Canada.
It is, and my only disappointment is that we're close to Vancouver. We're about an hour's drive from Vancouver.
Not so bad.
Yeah, so we used to go in a lot before we had the kids and go to the restaurants and that. And we do occasionally now, but it can be quite a trip to make sometimes. Not so much with the older girl. She's great, but the baby's 17 months and she's just into everything and toddling everywhere and pulling at everything and picking at everything. So it's not always fun to take her to a restaurant. But yeah, there's great spots in there and lots of shopping. And but even in our area, the shopping's good, but the restaurants, oh gosh, there's nothing here. So that's another reason why I do all my cooking, because we can't really eat out here.
Yeah, we're in the same position. There's nowhere here for us to eat out, and we just cook. But it's great because it saves us a lot of money. So.
Well, it's true, hey? It really does. Yeah. It's like I make my husband's lunches for him, too, and he saves, I know we save a ton of money on just the fact that he doesn't have to go try to get lunch every day at work. So.
Exactly. And we ask this question to all all the people we interview. So if there are a lot of our listeners who aren't quite vegan yet, they're nearly there, they're getting there. Do you have any advice for those people to sort of push them over to the vegan side?
I think to just experiment, because I think I think people have a general fear of cooking and baking and think that they can't do things, and that they need to have some kind of training, and you don't. And I mean, a lot of cookbooks out there are not written by professionally trained people. In fact, I've heard some people, I heard a radio show once where they were saying, well, those chefs, when they write the cookbooks, gosh, it's like they don't really write them for the people who are cooking at home. So anybody can pick up a cookbook and make a meal. And I think if you just experiment and try things, you realize how good it is. And the thing with cheese, and I think everyone has heard as vegans how, it's so hard to give up the cheese, it's so hard to give up the milk, but it's not. And one of my very good friends who just gave up cheese and milk, and their family's become vegan, she said, I always thought it would be so hard to give up the cheese and so hard to give up the yogurt. She said, but I really can't believe it's not, and I'm not even really missing it much. I said, I know, and I think people have that idea that that's impossible, but it's not. So just try out some recipes and just don't be afraid. Like, you're going to have muck-ups in the kitchen. You're going to have things that go wrong. I have things that go wrong all the time, and that's just part of it. So, give it a try. And because if the food tastes great, then there's no issue.
Exactly.
It's easy.
Why would you want to go back? Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah, yeah.
And how about do you have any advice for parents out there? Maybe that, I know, I'm assuming that you start all your kids from birth as vegans, and maybe that makes
Absolutely.
things easier. But for folks maybe who are out there that are kind of, maybe they're living as omnivores now or as vegetarians now, maybe they have kids and want to make those kids and their whole family vegan. Do you have any advice for those folks?
I think if your kids are a little older, like my daughter's now 5, and so I think from about the age of 4 and upwards, if they get cooking with you, then, and that's sometimes really hard to do because it takes a lot longer, but if they can get involved with you, then they'll want to try out the foods. And I hear from so many parents that their kids don't like meat. I cannot tell you how many times they say, "Oh, my guy or my little girl, he doesn't really, they don't really like meat." And I think kids are naturally, averse to meat, and then we try to train them to like it. Like, it's something that we give them, they don't like it, but we keep continually giving it to them, so eventually they do get the taste for it. But I think naturally they don't want to eat it, and so if you expose them to so many other foods, they're going to enjoy them. Our kids will like the foods that they're given, and they will know the foods that they're given. I mean, my mom sometimes, she's shocked to see what my kids are eating because she sees the other grandchildren and she can't believe that my kids eat the variety of things they do, but it's because they've been exposed to it. So you eat what you know. So if you can try to get your kids early, I think that's the best thing. And I hear sometimes from people that, one person's eating this way in the family and the other person's eating that way. And I would think that's so challenging. I think if you can all go with the change together, you'll all accept it more and it's easier to do. And it's hard for parents though, because as singles, you're only responsible really for your own self.
Sure.
So if you make this change, you can feel like, okay, well, you're taking it on yourself. But with kids, you have this overwhelming sense of responsibility to do what's best by them. And so I can understand how parents are really afraid to make that change. But if they do a little bit of reading and research that it's healthy for them, that they can feel secure in their decision then, because the information's out there. In books like Becoming Vegan, and then I'm reading this book that I mentioned, Disease Proof Your Child. It's startling how much healthier your kids will be if they get all that dairy out of their diet. And kids eat so much dairy. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, the one thing too I hear from parents often is that their kids start to notice that what they're eating is very different from what other kids are eating. And is your daughter, your older daughter, at that stage, or does she just not seem to mind?
She does know that it's different, but my daughter, I don't know if she's a little unique in the way that she is not bothered by it. Like, we'll be at parties and such, and I'll bring a cupcake. Yesterday she had a party day at preschool, so I brought a cupcake for her because it was her birthday this month, and so they do a little celebration. And the teacher asked if she could put Smarties on it, and I said, no, please don't, because our Smarties here are not vegan. And she's not okay with it. I mean, she sees it, and she asks me if there's cow milk in it or if there's eggs. And if I say to her, yes, there is, then she says, oh, Mom, we need to teach these people not to eat these things.
Excellent.
Yeah. And I think, yes, honey. And she says, when I grow up, I'm going to knock down those junk food stores. And she means McDonald's. She always calls McDonald's the junk food store. She's never, been in there, obviously. And so she said, I'll get all the people out first, and then I'll knock those places down. And then the other day she was talking about seeing certain animals, and I said, well, honey, if they're in a zoo, we won't go to a zoo because, Mommy and Daddy, we don't agree with zoos. And I explained to her why, and she said, well, maybe we should put the people who run them in the cages and see how they feel.
All right.
Excellent.
I said, that's right, honey. So she's made some connections that are really actually awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
So awesome. She's okay. She doesn't seem to have an issue. Like, she doesn't pout or feel sad, or she just understands that those things are in there and that's not good, and we need to show people the way. So it's all good right now.
That's great.
Hopefully it won't change.
Wonderful.
Can I ask you one last question? Is it true that you left a corporate job to kind of do the cookbook writing and stuff?
I did, yeah.
Wow.
I was working in the satellite communications business, and I was in a marketing management position, and I had like really done well in a matter of 3 years, and I was doing what I thought I wanted to do. You know, when I went through university and what I envisioned myself to be, and I realized I wasn't really all that happy doing it. And I was doing these business trips and trying to find, oh my gosh, I went to Norway once and I just had such a hard time eating there. And I realized, and it wasn't just about the food, it was just about what I wanted in my life, and I did not want that. And then we moved out west, and I had opportunities to continue in the field, but I just said, nah, I want to pursue what I'm doing with the writing and the recipes and just go that way. So that's what I did.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And we're all very happy that you did, since we get the benefits of that. Oh, and I have one last thing. And you tempted me in the email that you had sent me about that you have a story to rival that of our cat, taking our cat to the vet. And so now my interest is piqued here.
It's nasty.
Well, our
I was actually
good.
Well, you said that, you know, all of the listeners and the people in the forums really love that story, so I don't know, they may like this one. Well, and I was actually going to blog this story because I thought, I need to know that other parents go through this, but then my husband said, oh, you can't do that, that will embarrass our kids, you know, when they're older. And I said, embarrass them? I'm going to be telling this story at her wedding. I mean, I'm sorry, but I thought it wasn't really appropriate for my blog being food entries all the time. Well, my daughter, like I said, she's 17 months, and she's become a little Houdini. Like, she's crazy. She can get out of just about anything I put her in. Jammies, and she manages to take off her diapers. I can put on these overalls, and she will pull off her diaper and pull the diaper out of the leg, like not through the snaps, but down through the leg hole. Kind of like, well, women will relate to this. Like, if women take off a bra and they can pull it through their armhole. Okay? Bob, you won't get that, but...
I've seen people do it, though.
do it, so.
Okay, it's quite a trick, eh? Well, she can do that with her diaper.
Wow.
So I went up one day and I looked at her. She had her diaper off, and I went, how did you do that? Because your pants are still on. So luckily it was only a pee diaper, and I thought, okay, this is a warning that I can never ever put those overalls on her again, and she always has to have something with what you call a onesie on, which snaps underneath in her crotch so that she can't get her diaper. And one day I put her down for her nap, and I thought, okay, well, I don't have time. I was really exhausted, and I just put her in with what I have on. What are the chances? And bad move. She woke up from her nap, and she often has a poo after her nap. And vegan babies are very regular, like
just like the rest of us. Yeah.
Holy, 3-4 times a day, sometimes more, but definitely like 2-3 times a day for sure. And I was getting my older girl ready. She had skating, and I thought, okay, I'll give it 10 minutes. I've got to get her skating clothes on. I was trying to get supper ready. And then 10 minutes later, I went up, and I opened the door, and I just stopped in my tracks. And my older girl was there, and she was like, oh, Mommy, what do we do? She had taken her diaper off, and it was a poo diaper.
Oh, no.
And she had dropped it on the floor. And the poo was out of the diaper. And it was a mushy poo. And when I looked, it was on the carpet. It was on her crib. It was all over the crib slats. It was on her crib sheet. It was on her. And she was sucking her hands.
Oh.
And I just looked at her, and I thought, I have no idea where to start. Like, this is an hour-long process, and I don't know where to begin. So I was very upset with her, and all I did was ramble on, like, how could you do, like, she understands me. This is not appropriate that you take off your diaper and play with your poo. And I had to give her, like, 2 baths, and then I stuck her in her playpen while I was cleaning, and I was scrubbing, and I was, and I'm trying to use all the natural cleaners, clean off the crib. And it was an hour, at least an hour cleaning that crib. And then I come down and she's looking at me in her playpen, and I'm still ranting at her. You are not to do that, and she could care less. She's happy playing with her poo in the crib. And I swear I could smell poo the whole day. No matter how much I cleaned it, I felt like it was still around.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
that
does rival the story that we told.
Yeah, it did not take us an hour to clean off the cat, so yeah.
Yeah, it was nasty.
We'll make sure to send you a CD of the show that you can just tuck away in her little memories album, and then when she, brings home her first boyfriend or something, you could play it for them.
That would be great. But you know what? I do have to mention about after last week's podcast and the mention of how you do the great cat vomit noise. You really do.
Well, thank you.
And my cat pukes a lot. Yeah. But I think I'd rather change all the diapers than clean up the cat puke all the time. It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's an amazingly disgusting substance.
And we have a lot of hardwood, but she always she's a pampered puker. She has to go to the carpet.
Ours
or the
too.
couch.
Ours too. We have hardwood floors in the entire house, and we have a couple of area rugs, and it always goes on the rugs.
What is that?
I don't know. They have to be comfortable, I guess.
Like you said,
I don't know.
Pampered pukers.
Yep.
Oh, goodness.
Well, on that note, but we appreciate you sharing the disgusting story with us.
Thank you. We know how to end an interview.
Yes, we do.
It wouldn't be Vegan Freak Radio unless we were talking about something like that.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, goodness.
Well, we really appreciate your time.
Oh, well, I appreciate you guys having me on. It's just really great to talk to you. And, yeah, it's like I listen to you every week. I sometimes have to pause you about 4 or 5 times and then come back to the podcast. But, yeah, it's great to be on. So thanks.
Yeah, our
Thank
pleasure.
you.
And, well, maybe before we go, you could just mention quickly where people can find out more about you, your websites and things like that.
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, my blog is vivelavegan.blogspot.com. And my website, although I don't update my website, I'm not very technical or anything, so I can manage the blog because it's pretty straightforward stuff for me. But my website has information, but it's not really updated. So that's everydayvegan.com, and they can email me through there and also email me Dreena at everydayvegan.com.
Wonderful.
All right.
Well, thanks so much, and we appreciate it, and we'll make sure that we put links up to everything on the site.
That's cool. Thanks so much.
Yeah, our pleasure.
All right, so thank you once again, Dreena. Go out, and everybody, and check out her cookbooks, check out her website. Lots of good stuff.
All kinds of good things going on with Dreena. So it was really our pleasure to have her on the show.
Yeah, we had a good time talking to her. So
absolutely. And that's one of the cool things about doing the show is that we get to talk to a lot of really cool people who are doing great stuff in the vegan community, and it's always cool and good. I say cool too much. I'm just tired.
But it's nice to see people who are dedicated in the vegan community and dedicated in doing different things. And Dreena, gave up her job to do what she does, and we are very appreciative.
Absolutely. So that does it for this week's show. Don't forget, you can always get in touch with us at 267-295-1944 via our voicemail line.
Yeah, and once again, we have a big queue of voicemails, so if we haven't gotten to yours, we'll get to it.
We do.
Eventually.
We try to get to them all.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you can't send us new ones. We always want new ones. Email us, podcast@veganfreak.com.
And you can always find our podcast, the most current one, and all of the past shows at podcast.veganfreak.com, thanks to our supporters and sponsors, because leaving those up actually consumes a bit of bandwidth. So thanks to the support that we get from folks out there, we're able to do that. You can always subscribe to the show. And before we go, I want to just make an announcement. Next week, we're going to be out of town, and we also need a week to just kind of regroup and get our shit together. So we're not going to have a new show next week. Unless, of course, you are a subscriber. Subscribers will get access to a new show, but only subscribers. So not to a new show, but to a subscriber podcast, which is different than our show. Our shows and the subscriber podcast are completely...
They're different.
They're very different. So it's not like they're getting a show and you're not, if you're not a subscriber, but they're getting access to something and you're not. God, I suck. No, what I'm trying to say is that we just need a little bit of time to get our stuff together. Yeah. So that's all.
After next week, the semester will be over and it will all good.
Yeah, but if you, like I said, if you're a subscriber, you will have a show next week. So no worries.
All right.
I'm done. Molly's getting ready to bark again.
Yep. So hang in there. Take your B12.
Oh, there
he
he
is.
goes.
He's saying
I
goodbye.
don't see any fat
All
guys
you
on
freakies.
bikes. Anyway, take it easy. And sorry.
Hey, there we go.
All right. See you in 2 weeks.
Bye, freaks.
Oh, say that it's precious, got to go.